Just to start with, I want us to take a break. I'm going to start by chanting the Sanghadhara, which is last year I had the fortune to go to Bodh Gaya, and I went on pilgrimage to India, and you hear different traditions, different different expression of Buddhist practice, and different sanghas, one can tell. But even though we're different sanghas, we share ideals, and one of the things that we share is this chant. So it's not just chanting Sri Radhana, but it is chant with different melodies and different rhythms and different slightly different versions through through the Buddhist world in a way. And actually a month or two ago as well, I participated in this Manchester Buddhist Conference, Greater Manchester Buddhist Conference, and there's different traditions as well. And we started by chanting different chantings from different tradition, and at least two of us did these. Did the whole version of Sanghadhara. So I wanted to use that just for us to just kind of be grounded in our bodies, being more aware of where we are, what we're here for, and who we're with. So you can close your eyes. I'll chant it and then I'll tell you a bit about it and about the day. Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Ujupatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Nyayapatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Samichipatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Yadidam Chatari Purisa Yugani Hata Purisa Pugala Esa Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Ahuneyo Pahuneyo Dakineyo Angelikarenyo Anutaram Punyaketam Lokasati Sanham Jivetam Paryantam Saranangachami Yeche Sanha Atitacha Yeche Sanha Anagata Pachupanna Cheye Sanha Aham Vandami Sapada Natime Saranamanyam Sanho me Saranam Varam Hetena Sachavajena Hotume Jayamangalam. Happily proceeding is the fellowship of the hearers of the richly endowed one, uprightly proceeding, methodically proceeding, correctly proceeding, namely, these 4 pairs of individuals, these 8 persons. This fellowship of hearers of the richly endowed one is worthy of worship, worthy of hospitality, worthy of offerings, worthy of salutation with folded hands, an incomparable source of goodness to the world. All my life I go for refuge to the fellowship of that, for that where, to the fellowship to be, to all the fellowship that are. My worship flows unceasingly. No refuge but the fellowship, refuge supreme is there for me. Oh, by the virtue of this truth, may grace abound and victory. So this is the Sangha Vandana, and with it I welcome you, if you just arrived, to the Sangha Day Sangha Festival. This might be the first festival for some of you. For some of us it will be not the first, maybe not the first Sangha Day. Probably we come every year to celebrate the Sangha. The Sangha, which is the third jewel of the three jewels. and I mean, I assume most of us know, or at least heard this word, Sangha. But I didn't just want to assume things. And to start, I just want to say a few words about Sangha. Sangha, it's, as I say, the third jewel. And this represents the three jewels. This is the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. The Buddha, the ideal of enlightenment, the ideal to which we aspire. The Dharma, which is the path and practices to lead us to enlightenment, to Buddhahood. And Sangha, which is the spiritual community, or in this translation of the Sangha Vandana, the fellowship of those uprightly proceeding, methodically and correctly proceeding. And so I just want to say, because the Sangha jewel for me was actually the last jewel to shine, and it's and it's funny because it's in my name. My name is Sanghadhara, Dhara, which is upholder or supporter of the Sangha. So that's why I'm here as well, emceeing, because in a way Sangha is quite important to me, and I wanted to host my friends and to share their own experiences and inspiration in relation to this jewel. And I just want to say, well, it's great that actually there's so many of us here. It's because it says that we already must see a value of coming together as practice. But for me, it wasn't really obvious. For me, I just thought, the Buddha enlightenment was obvious attraction to me. The transcendence of suffering, I was really attracted. And the Dharma, obviously, for practical reasons, I was very interested and in hearing the Dharma so I can reach Buddhahood. And the Sangha was kind of sort of just like people that happen to be interested in the same thing than me. And thanks to them, the books keep being published or something. It was kind of purely utilitarian. It was almost kind of, the Sangha was just the vase to contain that form. But I wasn't, and I still sometimes I think I could underestimate the importance of that vase, of that form, that container of the ideal and the practices. Well, as you can imagine, then I can probably say quite a lot about Sangha. The last 13 years that I've been most engaged with Triratna, it took me quite a few years. As I said, it was the last jewel to shine. And it had to be, without going to my life story, it really, I realized I couldn't really do it on my own effectively. I needed people to exemplify and who, actually first people that I could exemplify and share my ideals with, even sometimes through teaching. I get so much through trying to communicate my ideals, through try to talk about ethics, but not just talk about it, having to be ethical as I'm talking about them. So that was kind of important to me. And I needed friends and comrades. Anyway, that one. Friends, fellowship, people who shoulder to shoulder we can face those ideals. And that I needed people more experienced than me. So in words of a good friend of mine recently, Prajnaketu said that these three aspects need to be present. They look up, grow up, and wake up. So I needed people to look up to grow up with, and to exemplify that waking up. For me, myself to wake up. Myself to wake up. Yeah. And yeah, and Sangha, one of the things I just wanted to mention, because we give for granted as well, is the importance of like Sangha institutions. We're here in a I think institutions is not a popular word. Actually, I don't particularly, not just unpopular, I don't like the word institution. But in a way, it's like, it does, it is on those lines of that container, that form that contains those conditions that support this, the coming together of people to look up, to grow up with, and conditions to wake up. Any kind of form or organized, that kind of container for practices. So we have the center. It's great that we have a center. We have people, and within this center we have all the Sangha institutions. You can say that the Buddhist Centre is a Sangha institution. The study groups, any kind of class in a way, is an institution. And so that even the drop-ins is something that is a kind of tradition. It's something that we do. Our study groups, our communities, our cooperatives, or team-based rural livelihoods. So these are, in a way, again, this kind of containers, these supporting conditions for our ideals and our practices to take place. And not just the institutions, but as well we have shared practices. We this morning been doing our own shared, not just meditation, but by practices as well. By practice we mean everything that helps us to move along the path, anything that helps us transforming and changing. I think Sanghadhara says that it's pointless to be Buddhist just by name. Like a true Buddhist should change even a little bit every day. So the Dharma is anything that helps us move along the path, anything to transform. That's ethics, even friendship. And within those practices we have a shared understanding and shared language, so we can communicate with one another. And when our inspirations or like emphasis are taking us in a bit of kind of an unpopular way, if we're kind of learning new words, we need to find a common language so we can continue understanding each other. When our inspirations, we need to follow our inspiration and find ways to communicate with one another that inspiration, so we can stay together and keep unfolding that inspiration, go deeper within those inspirations. Anyway, there's a lot more that I would like to say about Sangha, the importance of Sangha, these institutions, these organized forms, these conditions, and the importance of shared practices and language for us to go deeper, no? To share what's most meaningful, and to share what gives our life meaning.